As we left the Cliffs of Moher, headed back to Galway, we went through the town of Kinvara, where school was just letting out, and we got a perfect snapshot of everyday Irish life. When we arrived in Galway, the sun was out, and so were the buskers, so it put us in the mood to hear some more music. We headed back to Taffy's. It's a lively pub where you can get a great pint, talk to people, and be sure you'll hear Irish music, as they offer trad sessions twice a day. This group featured guitar, banjo, and a man playing the uilleann pipes, which is a traditional Irish instrument, similar to bagpipes. Instead of blowing into the instrument to provide the air for it, it's using a bellows. The strap goes around your waist, and then you use your elbow to pump the bellows. The flash from my camera caught this waitress a little off guard, but she was a great sport about it. Since it was our last night in Galway, we wanted to pick up some souvenirs, so we headed out to the Aran Sweater Market. This type of sweater originated in the Aran Islands, just off the mouth of Galway Bay. Knit of Irish wool, they were made for fishermen, water-resistant and warm even when wet. Filled with symbolic stitches, each clan had its own unique knitting pattern. This pattern was often used to identify the bodies of fishermen who washed ashore. Being a knitter myself, I had purchased a copy of my family's knitting pattern online before leaving for Ireland. And when I found the coat of arms and our knitting pattern sample in stock, I couldn't resist. From there, it was just a short walk to the Spanish Parade, where the River Corrib meets the Bay of Galway, and the home of the Spanish Arch. Built in 1584, the Spanish Arch was an addition to the city wall that had been built in 1270 by the Normans. It was originally called Ceann an Balla, which means head of the wall, but it became popularly known as the Spanish Arch. No one's really sure why, but they think perhaps it was because of the large number of galleons and Spanish traders who were docked here, selling spices and wine. Among them, in 1477, Christopher Columbus. Just beyond the Spanish Arch is the Galway City Museum. The Spanish Parade at the mouth of Galway Bay is a beautiful place at sunset. So peaceful, Let's slow this down just a minute to enjoy it. We went back to Ayr Square in search of some dinner and instead found O'Connell's. You may recognize it from Ed Sheeran's Galway Girl video. Unfortunately, they weren't offering food at that time, so they referred us around the corner to 13 on the Green. We checked the menu and decided it was time to try some of this world-famous Irish beef, and it was amazing. The back bar room featured a big screen with, what else, a football game, and a stunning bar paying homage to Jameson. We decided an Irish coffee would make the perfect nightcap while we enjoyed our second trad session of the day.
The music playing.
We enjoyed one last amazing breakfast at Avoca House before heading out. We had a terrific stay here, and our hosts Peter and Kathleen were wonderful.
Karen had one last item to pick up in Galway before we headed north to Sligo. We parked downtown by the inner harbor near Karen's destination. I stayed back in the car to review the atlas for our route north and to look around the harbor a bit. With a little research, I learned the origins of the harbor dated back to 1124, when a castle and a fort were erected. Centuries later, however, commercial, office, and residential buildings are being built around the harbor as part of a 20-year redevelopment program.
I headed to Thomas Dillon Jewelers at 1 Key Street. If you remember from our video on the first day in Galway, I tried to go to Dillon's Jewelers, the home of the original Claddaghs ring, but they're only open 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., so this was my last chance. Established in 1750, they're the oldest jeweler in Ireland and the original makers of the Claddaghs ring. When Chris and I were dating, the first ring he gave me was a gold Claddagh. Dillon's has a tiny museum that's free in the back, featuring Claddaghs rings made in 17 and 1800s, the world's smallest Claddaghs ring that fits on the head of a pin, as well as photos and artifacts of old Galway. Dillon's has created Claddaghs jewelry for royalty, presidents, prime ministers, and legends of stage and screen. The Claddaghs ring has two origin stories, both connected to the Joyce family, one of the original tribes of Galway. One involving a golden bird dropping the ring into a generous lady's lap, and the other a little more believable. Richard Joyce was captured by Algerian pirates on his way to the West Indies and sold as a slave to a Moorish, or Moopish if you're a Seinfeld fan, goldsmith who trained him. Released from slavery in 1689, he returned to Galway and began to work as a goldsmith, creating these rings. Claddagh means shore. It's two hands holding a heart with a crown above. The hands stand for friendship, the heart for love, and the crown for faithfulness or loyalty. If you wear it with the heart pointing inward toward you, you're attached. If you wear it pointing outward, you're unattached. I chose the sterling silver 100-year Claddaghs ring. It's a little heavier and intended to be handed down through the generations. On the inside, it bears the hallmark as a Thomas Dillon original. If you're enjoying our videos, hit the button with our faces on it to subscribe, or hit the square to the right to see more of our videos. Next week, we'll be in County Sligo. Until then, we're wishing you the love, friendship, and loyalty of the Claddagh. See you next Wednesday.